Should we start with comprehension? Comprehension, as you know, has 27 questions, and for last 2-3 years there have been 27 questions every year from comprehension section. Basically, they give you passage of around 120 to 140 words, and based on that passage, 1, 2 or maximum 3 questions are asked, right? And every year, because there are some passages, some comprehensions on which there is a lot of debate, out of 27, for almost around 5 questions per year, we have seen that the coaching institutes will give you different answer keys. That is why there is a lot of debate on comprehension, and students have this fear that comprehensions have multiple answers. So why should I attempt it? It is risky to attempt. But you have to note that that fight between the coaching institutes or that confusion is only limited to 5 to 7 questions, not more than that. So out of 27, 20 passages, 22 passages will be where there will be absolutely one single answer, where there will be no doubt, and there will be no variation among answer keys of coaching institutes. So you should not fear it, क्योंकि 27 में से 22 क्वेश्चन तो ऐसा है कि इसमें कोई डाउट ही नहीं है. Now, if you fear based on 5 questions, then it is your loss. You are losing out on the on opportunity to score well and score quickly. I had a student last year. She was so afraid. After all the efforts, she was still afraid on the examination day. She attempted 27 questions from non-comprehension section. She got 26 correct, and she was thrown out. Had she got 27 correct, she would have been in. So this is very risky. If you like tread so thinly that I will attempt only maths questions or only comprehension or only LR questions, is a risky strategy. Your attempt should not be such that कि एक question से ही मैं बाहर चला जाऊँ. That attempt should be more than 40, ideally 45, 50. If you are able to go beyond 50, well, great, no problem. Provided there is sufficient accuracy. I mean, ऐसा नहीं है कि सारे ही B मार के आ जाओ और बोलो कि 80 अटेम्प्ट करके आए, ऐसा नहीं करना. So comprehension is an important aspect of CSAT. ठीक है. There is no fixed pattern to teach comprehension. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि I speak something and magically you are all able to comprehend better. I don't have a magic potion like that. If somebody claims that they have, good for them. But comprehension is ability that you need to cultivate. We are here to help. What can we do here to make you understand the nuances or the basics of comprehension, and then make you practice a lot and show you how it is generally dealt with. Like if I solve and how I comprehend passage, that you can observe and pick up few things. But efforts for improving your comprehension have to come from you, because it is the ability, your ability to comprehend things. है ना. यहाँ पे कोई ऐसा knowledge नहीं है जैसे मैथ्स में होता है या फिर LR में होता है. There is no fixed set of information that needs to be passed on. Here I cannot teach you properties of comprehension like I taught properties of square or rectangle or other things. Here it is your innate ability, not innate really, but cultivated ability to comprehend what is being written in front of you. And comprehend meaning there are a lot of aspects that that I have enlisted in this document that we will see. This is for your general information, this booklet. So earlier, before like 2015, when CSAT was included in marking, the template used to be, there was one big passage. Right now there are very short passages like 120 words. There used to be big passages like 500 words, and based on that there used to be 4, 5, 6 questions, which was much easier because the answers were right there in the passage. The direct questions used to be asked. But since 2015, UPSC has continued with that pattern. But by 2019, they realized that students are ignoring the CSAT section and comprehension as well. the students they are getting from means they are not able to comprehend things in a better way. So to avoid that, to make students study, they have changed this pattern of comprehension as well. So right now, for past few years, you are getting very short passages, but multiple passages. Your speed is getting tested. Passages themselves are not always easy. Some passages they are making difficult to comprehend. So here, questions that are getting asked have completely changed. There are no direct questions, virtually no direct questions are getting asked. And options that are set by UPSC seem to be very, very close to each other. What are they really testing now is your ability to read fast, your ability to understand what author says, your ability to understand what is going on in author's mind when he is writing, where he is coming from, what is his point of view, and your ability to comprehend and take out inferences out of that passage. What do you understand? What can you take out of this passage? Those abilities are getting tested. Plus, unless you know exactly what author means, unless you understand that, you should not be able to arrive at the exactly correct answer when options are closed. So those abilities are getting tested, and that you have to do at pace. That is the most important aspect. If I give you 4 hours to solve CSAT paper, everybody will be able to do those comprehensions. But the CSAT paper has to be done in 2 hours, and therein lies the challenge. So here, they want you to comprehend the context. Where is author coming from? In what context he is writing? Inferences of the passage and what you can take out. What are the arguments author is making? Why is he making it? And what can you take out of it? There are 5 aspects of comprehension. First is understand the context and assumptions that author has made. So when author is writing something, he has some already preconception in his mind. So he has some his own biases. He assumes few things about the reader, right? So that cannot all be included in the passage itself. Those things are implicit. That you need to gauge from the passage only. These are not explicitly mentioned in the passage, they are implicit. That is why they are called assumptions. Something which is not mentioned, but they are implicitly assumed. For example, when I am talking to you guys in English, I am assuming that you all know English. That is my assumption. I have not explicitly stated that in our first class, that I am assuming that you all know English. That I am assuming. Why? Because advertisements were all in English. The language you opted for writing this examination is English. That is why I am assuming that you guys know English. You guys understand English. That there is no need for me to explicitly mention that every time. That is my assumption. Something which is implicit. No need to explicitly state it. Okay. So understand the context and the assumptions author is making. Secondly, understand the vocabulary used. You need to be proficient enough in English language to understand the words. If not exactly, at least from the context. कि क्या लिखा जा रहा है उससे तो कुछ मीनिंग समझ में आ जाना चाहिए वर्ड का. We cannot know all the words in English. Of course, we are not Shashi Tharoor, right? But we need to make out what is the meaning of the word, at least from the context in which it is being written. Okay? Thirdly, understand the core message, inferences of the author, which typically comes in the later part of the passage. Why? Because whenever author is writing something, he has some agenda. He is trying to make some points to convince readers of his point of view, his or her, right? You need to understand the core points of what author is trying to make, core argument that author is trying to make, and what inferences you can draw. आपको क्या समझ में आता है वो जो author बोल रहा है उससे? So inferences can be multiple. One passage can have multiple inferences क्योंकि there can be multiple things that can be taken out from the passage by you. Inferences can be multiple, but core of the passage, core will only be one. Core या फिर crux. हर passage का crux तो एक ही होगा. Crux will only be one, but inferences can be multiple. ठीक है. Fourth aspect is choosing the right option from similar looking alternatives. Here also your comprehension is important. Comprehending what the option is, not only the passage. What is the option? Option का मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of option? Exactly what is the difference between the different options? ठीक है? That is the fourth thing. And fifth and most important and most underrated thing is reading speed. Because we have seen of late, CSAT paper is seemingly getting lengthier. When there are few quant and LR questions which demand more time from you, just to gauge that is it solvable in sufficient or fair amount of time. Just to gauge that you need time. And where do you get that time from? You get it from comprehension. There are 27 comprehensions. If you are able to solve or at least attempt all the comprehensions in, let us say, first 20 minutes or between 1 hour and 1 hour 20 minutes, 1 hour 25 minutes, then you will have substantial advantage to cover enough number of non-comprehension questions in remaining amount of time. If not, you will always face difficulty. If you are going to spend 50 minutes or 1 hour on comprehension, you cannot possibly solve enough number of questions in the remaining 1 hour of non-comprehension section. Again, another thing, don't leave comprehension for the last. Either do them in the beginning or do them from 1 hour to 1 hour 20 minutes. Because what happens in last hour is your mind goes haywire. You can't think straight because everybody is in hurry. The clock is ticking very fast. It is an exam condition. It is exam situation. Some of you may have already failed in CSAT in previous years. So that mental burden is there that I have to pass, I have to pass, I have to attempt more. So in that frenzy, you will end up attempting few questions which you should not have. Okay? And lot of negative can happen in comprehension where you need actually clarity. Very calm and clear mind can solve comprehension very, very effectively and very, very correctly. And when we'll solve comprehension in class, you will see that most of you will give me right answer. But the same question if I ask in examination hall, you will face difficulty. There are certain situations in examination which bring lot of stress to you and which reduce your calmness and make you confused. So to avoid that, attempt comprehension in either first half hour or from 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes in that slot. Okay? Don't leave it for the end. There are 27 comprehensions, out of which ideally you should solve, well, there is no ideal really. It depends on you, what are your strengths and weaknesses. But there are at least 20 passages, like I said, which are easy, where there is no confusion between options, and there is no confusion among coaching institutes, where there is very clear single answer. It depends. Mostly it is 1 or 2. Sometimes it is 3. More the questions per passage, beneficial it is for you, because you will have to read lesser number of passages. And plus, if there is only 120 word passage, 140 word passage, and they are asking 3 questions on it, nobody can set 3 difficult questions on one single passage. Right? There will be 2 easy questions, 1 difficult question maybe. So it is always beneficial, and you can spend more time reading that passage as well, because 3 questions ho ja rahe usse. Right? More the number of questions per passage, beneficial it is for you. So you should attempt, जहाँ पे भी 2-3 क्वेश्चन दिख रहा है, attempt करना ही है. हाँ. 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 Yes, do all the comprehensions together. Segregate कर सकते हो. Pages तो पलटने. It doesn't take time. And again, attempt and mark in the OMR sheet. Okay, don't leave marking OMR sheet for the last 10 minutes. Again, you are creating a lot of frenzy in your mind, and in that hurry, you may attempt 1 or 2 wrong boxes in OMR sheet, and that regret will be uncomparable to anything. That सही आया था मेरा, गलत हो गया, and my year is wasted, because at the end you have to realize that you are gambling years of your life, years of your youth while staying. We are not doing anything else. Apparently, you won't get anything out of it if you don't qualify. ठीक है? हाँ. Yes, there are over every passage there is a instruction that you have to use whatever is given in the passage only. that is mentioned in the question. So as a student, what you can do only that. Why? Vocabulary meaning whatever you're reading, just focus on those words as well. The more you read, the better will be your vocabulary. It's as simple as that. You're reading so much, not only for like comprehension will do as a specific thing for in CSAT course, but otherwise you're reading lot of things for GS. You're reading so many things for optional. वो भी तो English में ही पढ़ रहे हो. Everything you are reading in English. Newspapers you are reading. There your vocabulary is getting built without you realizing. But if you consciously spend some effort in your mind, not time, not extra time, just कि हाँ यार ये नया word आ गया, इतना ही. Or just having the dictionary in your phone and checking if there is some new word, what is the meaning. That much effort is only required. Vocabulary ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ extraordinary vocabulary build करनी. We don't want that. Even when we are writing essays, vocabulary is an asset, but it is not a necessary asset. In your essays as well, your arguments are more important than your vocabulary or your examples. ठीक है? This exam is very fair in that manner. Of course, it's an added asset. If I have good vocabulary, it's an asset for me. There's no problem in having good vocabulary. But if you don't, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि you are at substantial disadvantage. And vocabulary can be built. It's not something that is undoable thing, or it doesn't take a lot of efforts as well, separate efforts as well. Whatever efforts you are taking, as a side part of that, you can build vocabulary, you can build reading speed. Reading speed के बारे में मैंने बहुत बोला है. I've spoken a lot of things about reading speed, how to improve, and you should have been doing it for past few months. I had said this in the first class. In our first introduction class, I had told you about how it is important to increase your reading speed, and that I cannot do. I cannot increase your reading speed. That you have to do. You have to keep timing your reading. अगर वो करते कि नहीं किया होगा, आई एम श्योर किसी ने नहीं किया होगा. करा है? क्या बात है? Very good. That is a progress. If you realize that if you save few minutes in your comprehension section, it will be substantial advantage for you in non-comprehension section. It will give you those additional minutes when you can decide that should I attempt this or not. ठीक है? That is an advantage. You have to increase your reading speed, and that is useful in other things as well. When you are revising your optional, better reading speed means you will revise quicker. When you are reading a case study, when you are giving your GS4 paper, better reading speed means in 15 minutes you are done with reading your case study in first minute or two, and you have 13 minutes to write. Unlike somebody who reads in 5 minutes and only has 10 minutes to write. So you will write the better answers. Right? It's very, very common sense. Yes, I have mentioned it here. Important thing is you have to answer based on passage given only and not based on what you otherwise know about the topic. Okay. Another important thing, we already know this, but we have to specially look for these words, that only, all, exclusively, uniquely, because they change the meaning of the sentence. Right? That we know in GS as well, that only hoga, all hoga, so we are extra careful. Wahi karna hai. If these words are there, then we have to be extra careful because they change the meaning of the sentences or the passage. ठीक है? These are the types of questions that are asked very frequently. Which option best reflects the message of the author or crux of the passage? They mean the same thing. Crux of the passage. What is the main message? In Hindi, as the 3 Idiot movie has taught us, कहना क्या चाहते हैं? That is crux of the passage. What is the basic thing that you want to convey? Author wants to convey to you, reader, some message that he wants to drive home. That is the crux. That is the core of the passage. Second, what does author mean by XYZ? This is the direct type of question. XYZ can be anything. They use some term in passage, and the question will directly ask you, what does author mean by this term? He uses some new term that he wants to coin, or something else like living will. So if the passage on euthanasia, and or the Supreme Court judgment on it, and there is living will mentioned. The question could be what does author mean by living will, etc. It could be anything. It is the most direct kind of question that you can get. Third is, based on the passage, following assumptions have been made by the author. This is where most of the students face difficulty, because assumptions meaning something which may not be explicitly mentioned in the passage, something which is implicit, mention नहीं किया है, तो उसको गेज करना थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो सकता है. Students may face difficulty in gauging what is not explicitly mentioned, but what is implicit in the mind of author. It takes time, it takes practice to get used to the assumption kind of question. We'll try, but in case you are still uncomfortable, very uncomfortable with assumption kind of question, you can leave them. I already said that there are 27 passages. Even if you attempt 15, 18, 19, 20 passages, it is good enough if you attempt rest 25 questions from LR point section. Our target is to attempt 45-50 questions with sufficient accuracy. Okay? If you are extremely uncomfortable with assumption kind of question, you can leave it at the end. Abhi we'll try everything we can to get the flavor of assumptions right. Now we'll try. For some assumption questions also, the answer would be very apparent, but for many questions, you may face difficulty in assumption questions. Hmm. 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 What is given in the passage, that is only that is the thing you have to assume. That is the thing you have to write. Here your ability, your knowledge is not getting tested. Your comprehension is getting tested. Comprehension क्या होता है? क्या author बोल रहा है वो तुम समझ सकते हो क्या? At the end, you are becoming civil servants or civil service officers. So there will be a lot of government documents. So do you understand what the document is saying? Not your knowledge. That is different question. Do you understand what document is saying? तो author क्या बोल रहा है वो समझ रहे हो क्या तुम मुझे बाकी मत ज्ञान बताओ, वो बाद में देख लेंगे GS3 के पेपर में. But what author is saying, comprehension ability is getting tested. So don't use your extra knowledge from outside. Yes. Right. Directly or indirectly. But sometimes, like for few passages again, it happens that what UPSC does is, what UPSC examiner does is, he takes one passage of 120, 140 words out of some bigger article. That is what we do as well. So they also do that. Some from bigger article, they will pick some short passage and they will frame question and answer. But many times it has been seen that the answer that they give is based on the entire article, not on the passage. But you as a student are not privy to that article in examination hall. तुम्हें नहीं पता ना कहाँ से आया वो आर्टिकल में क्या लिखा था. What you can do on your place is that you answer based on the passage. उसके आगे आपके हाथ में नहीं है. ठीक है? That is why we are saying that we'll attempt 45 questions, so that even if 1-2 questions here and there हो जाए, it should not matter. Here you don't have to score 150 marks out of 200. Even if you get 80-90 marks, it is good enough. But ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि 70 पे अटक रहे और 20 दिन चले गए रिजल्ट आने तक. That is the thing that we want to avoid. What we want is you should be getting 80 plus 90 marks, so that you should be sufficiently confident that I am not failing in CSAT and I should start studying for mains. That should happen on day 1 after prelims. ठीक है, that is the aim. 1-2 question ऐसे हो सकते हैं for which UPSC may give different answer. We have absolutely no control over it. Nobody does. But what we can do best, that we can do. ठीक है. Next, according to the passage, which of the following is true? Again, simple kind of question, and it is sometimes mentioned in the question itself. According to the passage बताना, बाकी मत बताना. Passaging based on which idea? The context of the passage. किसके बारे में लिखा जा रहा है passage? There is some larger topic. Like euthanasia, the example I used. Exactly. So it depends on the option. Option में क्या दिया है, उसके basis पे आपको figure out करना है. Which of the following is a definite consequence of the passage? Meaning, it doesn't matter what happens or what everything, if anything happens or not, this to pakka hoga. This will happen definitely because what the author is saying. Direct consequence of the passage, definite consequence of the passage. Consequence समझते हो आप? ठीक है? Every decision that you make, every argument that you make will have some consequences, and you will be responsible for them. Just like the same thing that whatever the author is saying, there are some definitive consequences of those arguments. तो उसका definite consequence वो है फिर that nobody will be alive in 2026. That will be a definite consequence. It depends on the passage. Which of the following best describes underlying tone of the passage? Whenever author is writing something, or whenever you also have observed this when you are reading newspaper articles or editorials, that the article has undertone. Sometimes articles are very critical, sometimes they are appreciative, sometimes they praise the government, sometimes it is suggestive, sometimes they are very like somber, everything कुछ अच्छा हो ही नहीं रहा दुनिया में वाला चीज. So that is the underlying tone. You as a reader should understand that where author is coming from and what is the tone of the passage, overall tone. तो पता चल जाता है थोड़ा पढ़ोगे तो कि क्या चल रहा है. That can be asked. Yes, definitely. No. That is possible only in inferences and assumptions. That if they are not always explicitly mentioned in the passage. Inference is what you as a reader understand from the passage. So that may not be stated in the passage. And assumption is what is implicit in the passage. जो कि author के मन में है, but that is not explicitly mentioned in the passage. So there also you have to like go beyond passage. For all other questions, you have to stick to the passage. ठीक है? Which of the following is implied by the passage? That is our inferences. What is the main idea of the passage? Again, crux or the core of the passage. Which of the following is most practical, lasting, rational solution? Author, when he's listing down the problems, he'll give you some solutions as well, and he'll suggest in the suggestive language. He may give some concluding remarks. Based on that, you can come to this as well. Most rational conclusion या फिर solution as per the passage. ठीक है. These are variants of the similar kind of question. Okay. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ऐसा एकदम बाल की खाल निकालने वाली चीज नहीं करनी है यहाँ पे. मोटा मोटा. So on the larger level, there are only few kinds of questions. One is context. पीछे क्या चल रहा है author के दिमाग में? Assumption. Something which is implicit. दूसरा passage से निकाल क्या सकते हो? You can call them inferences, you can call them consequences, you can call them implied implications, you can call them corollaries. There are some differences, minor differences in them, but मोटा मोटा बाहर क्या आ रहा है पैसेज से. और तीसरा है पैसेज के अंदर क्या चल रहा है, कोर ऑफ द पैसेज, क्रक्स ऑफ द पैसेज. पीछे, बीच में, बाहर. यही पे मोटा मोटा सवाल बनते हैं. Minor differences between these terminologies are there, which I have enlisted for your convenience if you want to really go into the deeper, go into the depth of it. Assumption, something which is implicitly mentioned, implicit in the passage, may not be explicitly mentioned. That is there in the author's mind as part of his biases or as part of his assumptions about the reader. Okay. These are things which are assumed, supposed, and taken for granted. Assumptions. When someone says something, he may not convey his entire idea into words. The particular part of this idea not expressed in words is what assumption is. Then crux, it is the core idea of the passage, right? Author has tried to make few arguments in the passage to come to the ultimate conclusion. He or she wants to convince the reader of his idea or opinion. That is what crux. Next is conclusion, something which directly follows from the passage. Statements or arguments made by the author. Here you cannot assume anything and cannot use your extra knowledge. If you are talking about conclusions of the author, what conclusions of the passage are there? Meaning conclusion of the author. Inference is of the reader. ठीक है? Inference is what you as a reader take out of it. Conclusion is what author is trying to convey, what author is concluding. ठीक है, माइनर डिफरेंस है. बाहर क्या निकल सकता है, तो बाहर कैसे you as a reader what you can take out and what the author is trying to take. Inference, there can be multiple inferences. These are conclusions that can be drawn from the argument. There can be more than one inference. This is you as a reader, what you can take out of the passage based on arguments made by the author. Underlying tone, I already talked about it. In the passage, author tries to defend his ideas. In doing so, he or she ends up lending some direction or tone to the passage. The passage could criticize something or someone, it could praise something or someone, etc. It is about reader's ability to reader's understanding of author's minds or opinion. Underlying tone, उसका क्या है? Critical है, appreciative है, praising है, क्या है? Implication, again same thing, what can be taken out? Something which can be understood or inferred from the passage. Last thing is corollary. It is slightly different. Corollary is like a side effect. I don't know if you remember, but in our school days, there in mathematics especially, there used to be theorems, and theorem के नीचे corollary होती थी. Yes, it is direct side effect or result of something which has been proved. This is a side effect. So example, अंडरलाइन टोन सार्कास्टिक भी हो सकता है. मतलब कुछ लिखते हैं ना, लिखना कुछ और चाह रहे हैं, लिख कुछ और रहे हैं, कहना कुछ और चाह रहे हैं, ताने मारना, वो भी तो होता ही है. मतलब यूपीएससी नहीं पूछेगा, बट स्टिल corollary is a direct side effect or direct result of what has happened. For example, if your quant and reasoning is poor, corollary is you will focus more on comprehension. Or if you are very confident in your comprehension, corollary is that you will attempt comprehension first. सही है. Comprehension is corollary is direct result or direct side effect of what has been proved. ठीक है, अभी तक ठीक है. Comprehension, हाँ वही है यार, बाहर क्या ना आ सकता है. Implication is like inference. ठीक है, something which can be understood or inferred from the given information. Implication follows from the implicit. हाँ, yes. Passages के implication आप क्या समझते हैं? Implication is inferences only. मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, these words they play around it. UPSC plays around with it in terms of questions, but उसका मतलब मोटा मोटा सेम होता है. अब बाल की खाल निकालने की जरूरत है नहीं हमें, क्योंकि ऑप्शन से वो क्लियर हो जाता है कि क्या पूछना चाहिए. No, crux is the core of the passage. Main कहना क्या चाहते हो is the crux. Conclusion is end में इससे आगे बढ़ने का तरीका. Yes, solutions would be in the towards the end of the passage. Author will suggest to do few things. हाँ, and crux is core of the passage. Many times they both could be same, but minor difference है. Again, minor differences are there. Corollary is side effect. वो मेन चीज नहीं है. ठीक है, पैसेज में वो बोला भी नहीं जा रहा है जो आप corollary की बात कर रहे हो. Passage is not talking about it. It is just a side effect of what is happening. Consequence is direct consequence of the passage. Passage की वजह से वो हो रहा है, only that नहीं, passage उसके बारे में ही है. Yes, side result. That is not the main thing that we were after. Our author was not saying that, but because something author has said few things, that is also true. वो मेन चीज कहना नहीं चाहता था, उसके बारे में ध्यान भी नहीं था उसका. Yes, ये देखो ना, एग्जांपल देखो. इफ योर क्वांट एंड रीजनिंग इज पुअर, तो हम कॉम्प्रिहेंशन की बात ही नहीं कर रहे ना इधर. इफ योर क्वांट एंड रीजनिंग इज पुअर, बट करोलरी है कि फिर तुम्हें देन यू विल हैव टू फोकस मोर ऑन कॉम्प्रिहेंशन. दैट इज अ साइड इफेक्ट. ठीक है, एनी डाउट्स? ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स ठीक है? आर यू गाइस विथ मी? यस, यस. Was it all understandable? Was it all fair in terms of what I wanted to convey about comprehension? If you guys want to add something, you can add from your experience. नो एक्सपीरियंस, फ्री नहीं दिया कभी? नहीं दिया? अच्छा, बच्चे हो। 24 वाला तो नहीं या 25? अच्छा, 21 साल से कम हो? अच्छा, लगते नहीं है, थोड़े बड़े लगते हैं। कुछ तो झोल है ना? डेट ऑफ बर्थ में कुछ तो किया है। हाँ। जेन जी हो तुम, जेन जी, यू नो दिस टर्म जेन जी, मिलेनियल। चलिए आगे प्रैक्टिस करें। टुडे लेट अस सॉल्व फ्यू पैसेजेस बिफोर वी मूव टू नेक्स्ट टॉपिक। रीड द पैसेज। Just go through the passage once quickly because it's just a 120 word passage. It should not take more time. Just go through it, then read the question and go back again. ये हुई ना बात। अब आते हैं different answers. Aman has answered the question and put question mark after the answer. पहले कभी नहीं करता था ये, पहले he was always sure. Okay. हाँ हो गया, क्या लग रहा है? Okay, we have both the answers. Online students are some are with A, some are with D. A, D. सेकंड का सेकंड में देखेंगे, फर्स्ट का है तो बताओ। A and D. Okay, let us read the passage. The main threat to maintaining progress in human development comes from increasingly evident unsustainability of production and consumption pattern. So author has made the thesis statement कि ये तो सही है ही, this is the truth according to the author, that main threat in maintaining that progress is this unsustainability of production and consumption. The current production models rely heavily on fossil fuels. That is again statement he is making. We now know that this is unsustainable because resources are finite. The reason for this unsustainability is resources are finite. The close link between economic growth and greenhouse gas emissions needs to be served for human development to truly become sustainable. That is the need of the future, according to the author, that this link, close link, needs to be cut. That is what author is saying. Okay, some developed countries have begun to alleviate the worst effects by expanding recycling and investing in public transport and infrastructure. This is what developed countries are doing. Some developed countries, again a statement of fact. There is no suggestion, there is nothing here. It is just statement of fact. But the most developing countries are hampered by high cost and low availability of green energy. Problems of the developing countries. Firstly, he said about what developed countries are doing as a statement of fact, and secondly, problems that developing countries are facing in doing so. Doing what needs to be done. And lastly, developed countries need to support developing countries' transition to sustainable development. Support to karna chahiye. That is suggestion. In what ways, how, no mention. Just they should support. That is what author is saying. So firstly, he said that his thesis statement, the main thing he is going to talk about in the passage, then main problem, that why it cannot be done right now, then what developed countries are doing, constraints of developing countries, and lastly, suggestive end note. Unsustainability in production pattern is due to which of the following? First, heavy dependence on fossil fuel. Definitely, he said that in the passage. Then, limited availability of resources. And third, expansion of recycling. Is that the reason for unsustainability in production? Can it be reason for unsustainability? Recycling to hona chahiye, or by your other knowledge also that should be incorrect. So 3 is wrong. Answer is A. D कैसे आ रहा था? पढ़ा नहीं तुमने अच्छे से. Expansion of recycling cannot be unsustainable. It is a more sustainable practice. बदल दिया अमन ने आंसर. गुड. सेकंड पढ़ लिया आपने? Consider the following statements. Developed countries can support developing countries' transition to sustainable human development by which of the following? According to the passage. खुद का knowledge नहीं लगाना है. According to the passage. Making clean energy sources available at low cost. Providing loans for improvement in their public transport at nominal interest rate. Encouraging them to change their production and consumption pattern. Does anything obscurely in the passage talks about interest rate, providing loans, anything? Suggestion bhi hai kuch? Is there anything, any way that author has suggested that developed countries should do? Paisa de do, ye de do, wo de do. Kuch bola hai? How? He is not talking about loans. So why is option 2 to definitely wrong hai? And once you cut that, you get the answer. Huh? नॉमिनल इंटरेस्ट रेट, प्रोवाइडिंग लोन्स, ये सब नहीं है ना उसमें. वो कौन होते हैं हमें एनकरेज करने वाले? हाँ, तो एनकरेज करने वाले वो कौन होते हैं? एनकरेज करना यार ये करो, तो बॉस है वो हमारे. नहीं ना, पैसेज के अकॉर्डिंग भी नहीं बोला ऐसा कुछ. वो बोला गया है clean energy sources available at low cost. The main constraints of developing countries is clean energy, na? See, at the end, you have to mark what is most correct. वो two तो definitely wrong है. Once you cut that, you should get the answer. Low availability of energy sources. That is the constraint they are facing. तो दे दो फ्री का पैसा. लो इंटरेस्ट बोला है, इंटरेस्ट रेट कम पे दे दो हमें. Is in by your other knowledge also, that is that the argument India is using at any of this forum? मेन क्या है कि क्लीन वो जो फंड है ग्रीन क्लाइमेट फंड, उसमें पैसा दे दो 100 बिलियन, ना कि लोन दे दो. लोन की तो बात हम करते ही नहीं अदरवाइज भी. वो लोन हो गया ना. Do we ever talk about loans when it comes to climate transition? We always talk about climate justice and equity, and under that it is what is it? This clean development mechanism जो बना हुआ है, pay your $100 billion per year contribution in that. That is our argument otherwise as well. तो वो डेवलप कंट्रीज कर रहे हैं. दैट इज अ स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट. कम, हाँ, उसके वर्स्ट इफेक्ट कम कर रहे हैं. दैट इज एलिविएशन, पॉवर्टी एलिविएशन बोलते हैं ना. ठीक है, चले आगे. ओके, पढ़ लिया? क्या लग रहा है? मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स आर कन्विंस्ड विद सी. Aman says D. Okay. Let us read the passage. Unless the forces and tendencies which are responsible for destroying countries' environment are checked in near future and afforestation of degraded areas is taken up on a massive scale, the harshness of climatic condition and soil erosion by water and wind and water will increase to such an extent that agriculture, which is mainstay of our people, will gradually become impossible. First 4 line is one single sentence. ठीक है, long sentence है, थोड़ा patiently read करना है. So what basically the author is saying that there are these forces and tendencies which are hampering our environment. We need to check them, and which tendencies which are against afforestation is important. He saying afforestation of denuded areas is absolutely need to taken up on a massive scale. Harshness, you know these terms, na, denuded areas and all. This is geography from your geography syllabus. Huh? Banjar area. Denudation meaning? What is question पूछ रहा हूँ तुम्हें GS1 में. What do you understand by denudation and how it happens? This is geography 101. First class geography की geomorphology की. What is denudation simply? पढ़ लो. ना. Degradation नहीं. It's not a geographical term. So land degradation वो सब उसमें आता है ना. UNCCD and all, they talk about land degradation. जाके पढ़ लेना. Let us focus on CSAT. तुम्हारा कॉन्फिडेंस ब्रेक नहीं करना चाहता. हाँ, harshness of climatic conditions, that is one reason, and second soil erosion. So उनकी वजह से क्या हो रहा है? Agriculture, which is mainstay of our people, will gradually become impossible. The author is really worried. In the first sentence itself, he seems very worried, and he has enlisted reasons and why is it happening, and it is going to destroy agriculture. We will not be able to do it. It is what author's opinion is. The desert countries of the world and our own deserts areas in Rajasthan are grim reminder of consequences of large-scale deforestation. Again, deforestation, afforestation. So, वो main चीज है author के लिए. That why is it happening? Core reason seems to be in author's mind, deforestation. Pockets of desert-like landscape are now appearing in other parts of country, including Satluj-Ganga plains and Deccan plateau. So, the desert-like condition is also appearing in other places. They are called spread of desert. Is there any difference between spread of desert and desertification? Is there any difference between spread of desert and desertification? Do you know these terms? Desertification पता है? And the spread of desert is? These are very basic geography terms I'm asking. Desertification की definition बता दो चलो. ये पढ़ा है तुम लोग बोल रहे हो ना, तो वो बता दो. Spread of desert is exactly as it sounds. Desert है, उसको spread होने के लिए कोई barrier नहीं है. पेड़ काट दिए तुमने तो desert spread होगा. That is spread of desert. Is it exactly? It is exactly like as it sounds. So from Rajasthan, winds, when there is no barrier, will take the soil to sand to adjoining areas and it will spread, keep spreading. That is spread of desert. That is why they are building a Great Green Wall in Sahara Desert. Do you know this project, Great Green Wall? पता है? In Sahara Desert, they are building the green wall, like rows of trees, multiple rows of trees, to stop the sand from flowing, to stop the spread of desert. But desertification is a different concept. Read about it. Please revise. Anyway. What process? Definition बताओ ना. Simple भाषा में नहीं चाहिए मुझे. तुम बाकी सब बता रहे हो, क्या है वो नहीं बता रहे हो. What is desertification? You cannot use the term in the definition. Increasing aridity and declining fertility due to mainly anthropogenic factors. ठीक. So that can happen at multiple places due to multiple reasons. माइनिंग की वजह से भी हो सकता है, डिफॉरेस्टेशन की वजह से हो सकता है, कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा वाटर निकाल लिया हमने, ग्राउंड वाटर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन की वजह से हो सकता है, एक्सेसिव फर्टिलाइजेशन की वजह से हो सकता है. These are mainly anthropogenic reasons, and due to that, soil becomes increasingly arid and incapable and loses its fertility. You cannot grow it. It is generally very irreversible kind of condition. That is spread of desert. That is desertification. But spread of desert is basically just desert is spreading out. So in case of desert as well, there are some problems in the soil. In desert soil, there are few problems. Climatic problems and edaphic problems. Edaphic is soil related. But if you remove those problems, you will be able to grow good crops there. For example, when Indira Gandhi Canal went to Rajasthan, many areas of Rajasthan became quite fertile. There was a desert kind of condition earlier, but you removed those conditions, whatever the deficiencies were there, you provided the water there. There was no water moisture in that area. You provided it, and now you can grow crop. But that cannot happen when there is a desertification. It is irreversible kind of condition. Soil loses its fertility. And there, again, as the author is saying, you need to have different kind of afforestation programs run on massive scale for soil to regain its fertility on slow basis. So there are some trees which are very hardy, which can grow anywhere. Those needs to be planted there. Anyway, so author is saying where only few decades back there used to be lush green forest with perennial streams and spring, there is only brown earth, bare of vegetation without any water in streams and springs except in the rainy season. So that is the grim situation author has delineated for us. That जहाँ पे lush greens जगह थी, the places where few years back, few decades back, there was lush green areas. There now there is bare earth, there is absolutely no vegetation, and even waters and streams they run dry except in rainy season. ठीक है. According to passage, deforestation and denudation will ultimately lead to which of the following? Depletion of soil resources. Absolutely, he said this. Soil erosion. Then shortage of land for the common man. No, it is very irrelevant option. So if you cut that, you will get the answer. Lack of water for cultivation, yes. Denudation is removal of layers of earth crust. Layer of layer of crust, earth crust. रिमूवल नहीं बोला, मैं सुन रहा हूं, ये सब नहीं चलेगा. हाँ हाँ. Then also 3 is correct ना. He is saying water, wind erosion is saying, and harshness of climatic condition, that he is saying, and he talks about spring and water crisis ना. वाटर क्राइसिस के बारे में बोल रहा है वो. ये है ना लास्ट, पानी नहीं है. लास्ट लाइन में बोला है उसने, देयर इज नो वाटर, स्प्रिंग्स आर रनिंग ड्राई. हाँ हाँ. यस. नेक्स्ट, इकोनॉमिक्स पैसेज. Okay. 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 पढ़ लिया? If you like some of the passages from here or anywhere else you read, you should take a note for other subjects or for your essays. That should be always on the back of your mind. That हाँ मुझे GS के answers भी अच्छे करने हैं मेरे और essays भी अच्छे करने हैं. Always when there is wherever there is opportunity to improve upon your notes or note something down for your essays, you should. In general, I'm saying not about this passage. In general, whenever you come across such good passage, actually in prelims paper also, in actual UPSC prelims paper also, there are some very good passages which you can take a note of for future and for mains. Okay. तो शगुन अगला भी कर लिया क्या? इसमें 2 है क्वेश्चन? नहीं. फाइन. करे? हो गया? क्या है आंसर आपका? बी. आपका? Okay. So far, except for A, there are multiple takers. Okay. B, C, D सब आंसर आ चुके हैं. Economic science has dominated public policy since 20th century. Debates have raged between Keynesian economists and Friedman economists, between welfareists who see the need for a government hand in the economy and monetarists who want government out of the way to let the private entrepreneurs loose and let the invisible hand produce good outcomes for all. We know this economic debate. There are few people who vouch for government's intervention in the economy, especially when there is counter-cyclical or as a part of counter-cyclical policy, especially when there is recession. And there are other people who call that government should not intervene in the market, absolutely not, and market should, invisible hand should work. Invisible hand of the market, that is. Okay. This person, John Maynard Keynes, you know that he was a economist in previous century, and yes, during the Great Depression, his suggestions or his policies were quite useful when government actually spent lot more to bring the economy out of the demand slump. So there were many efforts taken by the government that time that you should learn in your history. That what were efforts by the presidents, I think. I don't know, remember the name, but some mocks have asked this question that economic depression के time पे क्या-क्या policies different presidents ने ली गई थी. You can read about that. But yeah, this Keynes was an economist. Before him, capitalism was dominated by Adam Smith's Adam Smith's approach, where again there was free market hand. But market has tendency to go through bust and booms. The market busted in 1930s. There was overproduction. Again, reasons you can read in history for why the 1930s depression happened. Basically, there was overproduction and everything just went bust. So there Keynes came in, and government's intervention helped USA and the world come out of the economic depression. From there on, Keynesian policies have always been used in times of crisis. It is said that when there is crisis, everybody is Keynesian. So the guy who has like this type or the type of economist named after him, Keynesian economist. So that he was absolutely a great guy in that regard. He has his quote I like very much, that he said that in 1930s he held few opinions, but after a decade he was asked again opinion on something else. Then he said something different. Then the reporter asked him, well, you used to say something else, but now you are saying other things. What changed? Why did you change your opinion? So he said, when facts change, I change my opinion. So you can use this quote in whenever you want to defend rationality or open mind or ability to handle criticism, objectivity, these kind of things. To defend these kind of things, you can use this quote of Keynes. Everybody uses Gandhi and Buddha. So some difference you can create by using these different people. He was also in Paris Peace Treaty. Yes. History of history का time में पढ़ लो. I just wanted to convey that. Read about some few other people as well, which will be helpful in your essays and other things. He had few books as well. His one essay is very famous because economists that time believed that future कुछ नहीं है. There is no possibility of sustainable growth for long period. छोटा देखो, and growth is only possible for short term. But he wrote an essay called as Economic Goods for Our Grandchildren, something like that. You read exact name आप देख लेना. That long term sustainable growth is possible, and the constraints were not that people were looking for other jobs, but the demand was lacking. So his arguments are there. Then there is this book. He has this famous book. Read about it. Just prepare one note for such people, which can be useful in multiple places, in GS3, GS4, in essays, of course. Anyway, coming back to the passage. Both sides agree that GDP, the size of economy, is essential. Okay? Both sides say that GDP is essential. Far-sighted system thinkers in a club of Rome gave a wake-up call in 1972. They showed that the pursuit of GDP was destroying Earth's capacity to renew itself. Here comes the main thing of the passage, that now everything is fine. Economists agree, although they fight on many things, but they agree that GDP is essential. But GDP, as it stands now, is growth. That growth is destroying Earth's capacity to renew itself and provide resources for unbridled economic growth. Unbridled, पता है word? Do you know the unbridled? Unconstrained, बेइंतहा, बोलते हैं ना? बेलगाम, unbridled. Yes, बेलगाम is better. They introduced the health of the planet into calculation of profits and growth. Health of the planet, they introduced. Meanwhile, economists continue to treat the natural systems as external to the economy. That is the main complaint of the author, that economists do that. That should not be done. Pleas by communities to protect are dismissed as impediments to ease of doing business and the GDP growth. We also do this. Development projects should go, constraints should be removed. All the, what you can say, zones around, buffer zones around wildlife sanctuary, they should be reduced in size because it hampers ease of doing business. Gadgil committee report, Kasturi Ranjan report, they are not agreed to by the states. By why? They hamper ease of doing business. So that is the complaint of the author, that he is enlisting. Which of the following is crux of the message of that author intends to give? Question समझ के clear है? Crux, core, author का main message क्या है? What is the main message that author wants to convey? A. Every country needs to pursue higher GDP, as Keynesian and Friedman economists both agree on it. It is true that Keynesian and Friedman economists agree on it. Every country should pursue it, no problem. But is that the crux of the passage? वो तो पहला एक statement उसने बोला है, but that was also it's like the introduction to the passage. It was not the main thing anywhere. Because that's the first thing that he said to set the tone. हाँ यार ये तो ठीक है, ये हो रहा है, बात ठीक है, आप दोनों भी agree करते हो इस पे. But main problem is, main thing that author wanted to talk about in the passage was about natural degradation of environment, right? Pursuit of GDP should be given up as it is destroying Earth's natural systems. Should it be given up? Anywhere has author suggested give it up? नो, कहीं पे भी बोला है ऑथर ने that you should give up the pursuit of GDP? No, and nobody is saying this as well. Whenever we talk about environmental protection, we always talk about sustainability. We never talk about this or that. Extremes में हम बात ही नहीं करते. So that is wrong. Natural environment is part of our economic systems as impact and impacts on it must be part of our calculation of growth. Fair enough, fair enough. But let us read the option D as well. Voice of the community must always be heard and not be discarded as growth or ease of doing business. Fine, this is also fine. ये भी author ने बोला end में. Now we have to decide which of them is crux. What is the crux of the passage? What is the core thing that author is trying to say? Was this the main thing that author wanted to convey? Option number D. This he just mentioned in the last line of the passage that this is happening, that concerns of the community are getting ignored in the name of ease of doing business. But was that the main driving point that author was trying to make? Community ke always suno hi tum. Main driving point is always this. The passage was about economics. Passage was not about community's concerns. Passage was always about economics and how economic calculations are ignoring GDP, economic calculation, ignoring environment. That was the author's main concern always. All of you were wrong. किसी ने सी नहीं बोला था आपने से? क्यों लगे थे बाकी के आंसर? That is the extreme statement, ना? हाँ, extreme statements are always wrong. That we have seen. हाँ, generally कर सकते हो. मतलब 95% of the cases will be right. भागना है तो भाग लो यार, पर क्यों भागना है? Why are you trying to find out shortcuts within shortcuts? Passage anyway is short. इतना थोड़ी बड़ा होता है पैसेज. ये तो फिर भी मैं बड़े पैसेज दे रहा हूँ. इससे भी तो छोटा ही होता है पैसेज. चलिए आगे. I think this is the last passage for this booklet, ना? Yes. This is a short passage. Okay. Some of them are, not all of them. क्या आंसर? ओके. इस क्वेश्चन में हमेशा झगड़े होते हैं मेरे साथ लोगों. Every batch fights with me on this, but I am UPSC. You can fight. Okay. We have B. अरे मैं उनके आंसर्स बता रहा हूँ. Shagun and Danvi are saying B. Sandeep is saying B. Okay. B is getting traction. Oh, Karthika is also B. Aman is A. You have some support. Neha is also A. Okay. Teams are forming. Okay, A. A. Isha is also A. Okay. A's have the majority now. Shagun is also A. D किसने नहीं बोला है अभी तक? देख लो एक बार. ओके. You want to convert to A. Okay, Sandeep, you are allowed to do that for now. Exam में नहीं allowed है, unless you bring the whitener. You can do that. कर लो. हाँ? Yeah. I have used and I got the result. So up to you. Firstly, don't make the mistake, please. है ना? But in case push comes to shove, push comes to shove. सुना ही है idiom. आपका सी जा रहा है. गुड. कुछ तो लगा रहा है. ए. आपका ए था. ओके. चले पढ़े. Online students, everyone is not answering. क्या हो गया सबके? In simple matters like shoemaking, we think only a specially trained person will serve our purpose. But with politics, we presume that everyone who knows how to get votes knows how to administer a state. Every democracy is crisis. वोट लेने वाला अच्छा लीडर बनना है कोई जरूरी नहीं है. People vote on different issues and different priorities. That is the thing that author is highlighting. जूता बनाना है तो तुम देखते हो कि साला सबसे बेस्ट चमार ढूंढेंगे, बट सबसे बेस्ट ब्रांड होगा जो भी है. बट इन केसेस ऑफ पॉलिटिक्स वी डोंट थिंक लाइक दैट. वी प्रिज्यूम दैट एवरीवन हु नोज हाउ टू गेट वोट्स इज ऑटोमेटिकली a good administrator or knows how to administer. When we are ill is a guarantee of specific preparation and technical competence. We do not ask for handsomest physician or the most eloquent one. Well then, when the whole state is ill, should we not look for service and guidance of the wisest and the best? So what author is saying that when you are ill, you don't look for most handsome doctor or the one who speaks most eloquently. You look for the best, who is technically most competent. Then why, when state is ill, he's talking in terms of democracies in general, I believe, or maybe in context of India, it would be part of some larger passage. Na? This short passage here, country is not mentioned, but when the whole state is ill, should we not look for someone who is the wisest and the best? Okay. That is author's concern wala passage hai mainly, that in democracies we are having this problem that we are getting people who know how to get vote but who may not be best administrators. ठीक है. Question: which one of the following best reflects the message that author wants to give? We are looking for a message. Author has said a few things. What is the main message of the author? ठीक है. First, we assume that in a democracy any politician is qualified to administer a state. Is it a message or is it a statement of fact? It's not a message. This is statement of fact that author has said. This is not message of author. कुछ कहना, तुम्हें कुछ समझ आ रहा है उससे, कुछ निकाल रहे हो उससे. मैसेज क्या होता है? Yes, there is no suggestive information here. It is just a statement of fact. Changing to C. Somebody has changed allegiances. Okay. This is not a message. That is the problem. That statement of fact that author has said it, but he has claimed it as a statement of fact. There is no message there. इसमें क्या मैसेज क्या दिया author ने तुम्हें? What is the message? Message is what you need to do, or what we should do. That is the message. तो उसमें कुछ समझ आ रहा तुम्हें? What is the message there? Is that a message? इट इज नॉट अ मैसेज. व्हाट इज द मैसेज वाला थिंग देयर? तुम्हें मैसेज क्या मिल रहा है इससे? समझ क्या आ रहा है उससे तुम्हें? इट इज द फैक्ट, स्टेटमेंट है वो एक. देयर इज द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट, देयर इज नो मैसेज देयर. मैसेज क्या होता है? ऑथर कुछ बता रहा है तुम्हें, कुछ बता रहा है, वो कुछ नहीं, वो एक स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट बोल रहा है. उसके एंड में बता, वो एंड में रहा है कि यू शुड बी नॉट चूज द वाइजेस्ट एंड द बेस्ट. दैट इज समथिंग वी शुड डू. दैट इज अ मैसेज ऑफ द ऑथर. You can still hold difference of opinion. I have no issues. But in this classroom, I am the UPSC. You can struggle with answers whatever you want. I will give next year answers. B. Politicians should be selected from those trained in administration. Okay. Let us put hold on it. Let us see other options. अभी तो हमें बेस्ट ऑप्शन चूज करना पड़ेगा जो बचे हुए उसमें. We have to choose best among remaining ones. We need to devise a method of barring incompetence from the public office. Okay, and last, as voters select their administrator, the eligibility of politicians to administer a state cannot be questioned. वो तो कर ही रहा है author. Author has continuously questioned the eligibility of politicians to administer. Of course, we can question. That is democracy. Ability to question is the democracy. बोल ही सकते हैं खराब हो रहा है, हम और कुछ थोड़ी कर रहे हैं, बोल रहे हैं बस कि अच्छा नहीं हो रहा. So D is wrong. So now we have to choose between B and C. Now if you look carefully at C, they are saying we need to bar someone for their incompetence. Right? We need to bar few people from public office for their incompetence. Can in democracy we bar someone? It's an extreme statement. We cannot bar anyone. डेमोक्रेसी में कर सकते हो कि तुम इलेक्शन नहीं लड़ोगे. Everyone has, that is fundamental right. So that is why we have to choose best among available options. This is not, I don't know if it's PYQ or not, but if it is the answer. Yeah, simple है ना. Its main concern क्या है author का? Main concern है कि they don't know how to administer. People are electing them, but they don't know how to administer. They are not the best when it comes to administration. So make them best, make them trained. अच्छा, so let us see if it is PYQ. हो सकता है PYQ, I don't remember exactly. पैसेजेस में बहुत सारे पैसेज होते हैं ना, तो सारे PYQ याद नहीं रहते. हाँ, it's a PYQ. Yes, it is B. I'm telling you ना. डाउट करते हो मुझे? हाँ. No, this was last year also I taught. This is 2022 PYQ. It's not the old PYQ. Last year also I taught this. और ऑप्शन चेंज करके लॉस हो गया. This was a difficult kind of question because options were kind of confusing here. The passage was short, but options were confusing. That is there. This year also there were a few passages which were very short, but there are still nobody knows what is the correct answer. So in trend तो नहीं आते यार. I have seen that for 20 to 22 questions there is absolutely no doubt what is the answer. हाँ, मतलब पढ़ लो छोटा पैसेज. हाँ, ले सकते हो because we have seen this. This year also there was this passage. एक लिबर्टी वगैरह ऑप्शंस थे जिसमें I don't know if you have seen this year's paper. You have seen 2023. There was passage which was very short passage again. Again the question was same thing. What is the passage based on वगैरह. फिर what is the crux message जो भी था. वर्कशीट भी चाहिए कॉम्प्रिहेंशन का अलग से because we'll cover it in every class. वर्कशीट अलग से चाहिए तो मैं बनाना पड़ेगा. वर्कशीट्स में PYQs डाल दूंगा कुछ. I won't be covering all the PYQs. हाँ, कुछ तो हो ही रहा है. ये जैसे PYQ है. So here main thing was that you cannot be anti-democracy. तो किसी को बार नहीं कर सकते पब्लिक ऑफिस से बेसिकली. हाँ अच्छा वीकेंड वाले टेस्ट में कॉम्प्रिहेंशन डाल दूंगा. इंस्टेड ऑफ वर्कशीट लेट अस डू दैट. Some PYQs and some non-PYQs. ओके वीकेंड में कितना 20 टेस्ट का 20 का बनाना है. कॉम्प्रिहेंशन 10 चाहिए, फिर ज्यादा PYQs दूंगा मैं. तो द थिंग इज अच्छे कॉम्प्रिहेंशन बनाना इज डिफिकल्ट टास्क, क्वाइट टाइम कंज्यूमिंग. ढूंढना पड़ता है, ढूंढ पैसेज तो मिल जाएगा, उस पर अच्छा क्वेश्चन फ्रेम करना. तो जीएस के साथ ही होगा ना. ओह ओके ठीक है, नेक्स्ट संडे कोई बात नहीं. तब तक वर्कशीट्स कर लो, कीप ऑन प्रैक्टिसिंग. एंड वी आर मीटिंग ऑन मंडे. मंडे विल स्टार्ट विथ मैथमेटाइजेशन एंड लीनियर इक्वेशन. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक, वेरी सिंपल वंस यू गेट हैंग ऑफ इट. और ऐसे ऑब्जर्वेशन से क्वेश्चन हो जाएंगे फिर, बहुत इजी. ओके, हैव अ गुड डे. आई होप दिस वाज हेल्पफुल.